Okay, so cool. Well, welcome everybody. This is the Nameless Podcast #1. Josh Vining and Cody Hogan, Caden Vining. We got CH Lonestar Promo. We got Trophy Hollow Outfitters, and we are doing podcast #1. And I had a really cool name picked out, and Cody, being the good friend that he is, did some back research by simply putting in Google and Facebook, and took him 2 seconds to go, oh, Insight Outdoors podcast is already taken. So that was a bummer. I was really excited about it because I thought it was a good name. And so to the guys that own Insight Outdoors, cool name, and I hope you do something insightful with it. So we are excited about some of the stuff that we've got going on between the Vining Ranch in Oklahoma at McGee Creek, Trophy Hollow Outfitters, and CH Lonestar Promo, and musicians, festivals, and all the good fun stuff that we've got coming up. We are going to start doing some podcasts, and it's going to be great. We're going to talk about everything from music, business, probably into marriage, relationships. But tonight, Cody's here to share his fantastic expertise on everything promotional and business related with the empire that he has built. Cody?
Yeah.
We're going to tell us about that.
I would say we're going to talk about kind of our life stories and how we have gotten where we are today and the struggles.
How we've gotten where we is.
Yeah, I know. But we're going to talk about how we become the people we are today and how hard it was, but how lucky we are at the same time. I think a lot of people out there think that it's been easy for us. I think a lot of people see that the festivals we go to, the lifestyles that we live and the stuff that we have, but they don't see the hard work behind it.
Well, tell me about that hard work. So when I first met you, you had recently sold a landscape mowing company.
Yeah.
And you had gotten into the HVAC world. You were doing air conditioning and doing a really good job at it. I know that when he hired you and you started working with them, you kind of blew his business up and almost to the point of distress. And then you decided to get into this and doing your own business. So tell me about that transition.
So a lot of people don't know, but it kind of, I had the mowing company. So I went to school for underwater welding out of high school, and then did that for 2 years, had some close calls and realized money wasn't everything. I mean, I was truthfully making $3,000 a week at 20 years old.
So the close calls under the welding and underwater close calls, like almost killed you, like almost accidents.
I was in the Ohio River dredging under casino barges. So there's laws where if the mud touches the bottom of the casino barge, then they're on land. Well, you can't have casinos on land in certain states.
Yeah.
So if they stayed on the water, they're not on the state.
Yeah. So that's why you get all the casino boats on the Mississippi River.
Yeah.
And
so we were pumping mud out from under them. And I had a guy that, you're getting water from up top or air from up top. Well, the generator wasn't paying attention and it ran out of fuel. So I had a bailout tank and I wasn't thinking, and I was just dredging a straight line. And I could barely reach around to get to my tank, and my helmet filled up with water. And at 20 years old, when you're 60 foot underwater and you're under a barge, that will put you to your end. And so
I bet.
I literally hit my knees, and then I grabbed my bailout tank. And I mean, that was the second I realized, like, I will never do this again. And so for 2 or 3 days after that, I'd go back. I was like, man, I can't let this get to me.
Get back on the horse kind of thing. Yeah.
And that one got me. And so I'll be straight up. I literally quit that, and I was like, I will never do this again. And so then after that, a couple of times I worked for some smaller companies, and we'd go do inspections on some like certain bridges and stuff like that. And that didn't get to me that bad, but the whole water thing just ruined me. After that, I couldn't do it no more.
So do you have a hard time swimming now? Do you have flashbacks?
No, like that doesn't. But being under that deep will get to you.
Yeah.
And so I mean, even in school, man, we went to school in New Jersey, and we had a guy where even in school, it's kind of crazy that school is shut down now. So the owner was embezzling money.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She was literally, so you could borrow money through these loans, she was making fake people and making loans and keeping her company afloat.
Oh, really?
She's
So
in
she would
prison
make
now.
fake students and get the money
Get
on
the
it.
money from the government, and she got caught.
That's
and now
so
she's
funny
in prison.
because I'm surprised anybody'd go to jail for that because I think our president makes most of his living that way, doesn't he?
So that happened. But even like, so we have compression chambers in school, and we literally had a guy freak out, ripped his weights off, and shot straight up and was done. And we had to carry him to that tank, bring him back down, and we got him back to life.
Yeah.
So like that whole underwater welding deal,
with the casino thing you were talking about, how deep down were you?
60, 70 foot. What you think? Oh, that's not that bad, but it is a lot.
That's
That's deep.
Well,
That's
every 33 feet, it's another atmosphere and the pressure changes.
So
Sorry, I keep backing way up. And the pressure changes. So 60, 70 feet, you're a couple atmospheres down. You can't just swim straight up out of that, can you?
No. Well, you can't. It takes time. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
pulling you up. But I went like, I mean, it. You know, I had my tank, and then they're like, okay, we're getting you up, and supervisors were in by that time. But when I got up, I was like, I'm done. Like, I'm done today.
Yeah.
And so it took me 2 or 3 days. I'd go back to work and try, and I couldn't do it anymore. So at that point, being in the welding, I came home, and that's when I went and bought Bubba's company. And so worked for him for a while, and then bought the mowing company. And I had a lot of, I was 21, 22 years old when I bought that. Truthfully,
and that was that when he owned that. That was like Ladybug or something, right?
no, that was before BCC Lawn.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. And so when I bought it, I'll be honest, I never knew how to talk to people. I was not a salesperson. Really, the day I signed the loan, I was like, oh my God, like, I got to figure out how to talk to people. Like, didn't know anything about business. And so jumped into that. In my mind, I was like, I will knock on every door from the customers that I have. And if I got 5 customers a day that said maybe, and one that was too interested and got one a day, that was volume. So I built my mind around as volume of you get 100 no's and 1 yes. And so that's how I become where I am today. And so I did that for a couple of years. I don't know exactly how many years I did it, but built it to where my brother and my family got into it. And then we did all the Lowe's, Bank of America's, Home Depots in the whole DFW area.
That's cool.
We had 4 crews working for us. And with all that, it was tricky. I'm the only one. I have 3 stepsisters and 1 stepbrother, and to get a little bit into it, it was hard because my stepsister worked for me, and then she went and worked for a competitor.
Oh, nice.
And worked for another mowing company.
Yeah, that's hurt.
And that got tough. Like, they wanted me done. Like, and then they started dating and stuff, So they were out to take me down.
Are they still in the mowing business today?
Not together. But yeah, he is. But but it made me who I am today, because that's what made me so strong of a person.
Yeah.
So with that, man, I mean, they took my employees. They would literally offer guys that I had 50 cents more and take them, and they would leave right there and leave me.
I've unfortunately gone through similar things in my business, and that's always painful because, you feel like you trained your competition and you get somebody stabbing you in the back, and but
yeah,
you have to look at it like, hey, you know what? I was doing something good. I taught somebody how to do something good. Now they're trying to do something with their life. Unfortunately, they're stabbing.
In my mind, they were jealous.
Yeah,
like if they were worried about me, I was doing something right, and
So how did you get from there to the AC shop?
So then when I started to kind of realize that I couldn't mow, I couldn't do landscaping. I guess in my head I was like, man, I can't mow for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And so my family wanted it, and I said, man, I kind of want out. So I walked away from it, and they took over it. And then a guy that I took care of his property, he had a guest house, and he said, hey, man, why don't you move in? And he owned a huge insurance company. So no one really knew. That was kind of quick 3 years of my life that I was in the insurance business. So I was a broker for about 1,000 agents for the health and life business.
Oh,
So
geez.
I would train these guys to sell, and that was one of the hardest businesses. And that's when Obama hit and all of that. And I had to promise agents, like, this is what you can make, but it's the 1%er. I'm not trying to be mean, but health and life insurance, it's the one, there's 1,000 of them, and 1% is going to actually make a living from it.
So in that cutthroat environment and
I didn't wanna
that
be a
hard
part of it
sales
no
and all
more.
that, but how much did you learn about?
I learned a lot about business.
Yeah, and because I mean, now
was running it.
you work so hard, and
Yeah.
you know, I mean, that kind of brought in.
Yeah. Oh, I wouldn't
that
be
work
where I am.
ethic.
Every single story and business and person I've worked for has got me where I am today. I've learned to be people I don't want to be. I've learned to be people I've worked for that I don't even want to be. Like, it's taught me who I am today. And so, even in the insurance business, I would say that I've seen a guy that I seen him make over $1 million in a couple of months and blow it all in a couple of months.
That's
And
fantastic. I bet that
buying
was fun.
cars and, living the life and buying yachts. And then in my mind, go broke. And I was like, man, I did not work that hard for a guy to go broken and barely pay me.
You know, can you imagine having a couple $1 million or $1 million that you made and then just spending it as fast as you made it, just gone?
I'll put it this way. In one couple months, he had a Mercedes V12, a Jag, a Corvette, an Escalade,
A Coke habit,
a yacht. For real, though,
Yeah.
I mean, and that was, truthfully, that's when I was like, I got to get away from this. And so me and him, there's some history behind that, but I said, man, I got to step away, and we went south. And I literally was dating Haley, had $1,000 in my bank account, was living at his guest house, quit, walked out of his company, put my stuff in trash bags. That day that I quit, I spent $250 on flowers for Haley. And on the way home, I said, is there a way I can take those back? Yeah. And so a lot of people don't know that. But so I called Haley and I was like, hey, I don't even have a place to live. And I'll be straight up, my parents weren't going to let me stay at their place.
Yeah.
So so when that happened, Haley was like, hey, you can come live at my place. And I was just like, I'm not built that way. So I said, this is a week deal. In a week, I will have a job in my own place. She's like, you don't have to. I'm like, no, that's not how this works for me.
Yeah.
So literally within a week, I had a couple of interviews, and then that's when I went to the guy that owned the AC company. And it was a smaller company. He was doing about $1 million a year. And went and had an interview with him, started for him, literally told him, hey, man, I'm broke. And I went to his house and started bush hogging his farm. And, like, he was going through, I think he actually hired me. This is crazy. I forgot all about this. He hired me, and the next day he had a stroke. And
Oh, crap.
Yeah. So then.
So all of a sudden you're
I
employee
called
number
him.
one.
Yeah, I called him, and I was like, and he never answered. I was like, damn, do I have a job? So his wife called me and said, hey, this is the situation. And I said, well, hey, I really need some work. Is there anything I can do? She's like, well, we really need help at the farm. And I went there and just started mowing and just doing what I could to make money. And so I helped him there for a little bit. And then that's when we went into the AC business. And,
You know, there's a mentality there that I have always appreciated and always tried to capture myself. And I've tried to teach my boys a lot of this. I will create my job. I will make my spot in being valuable in any organization that you work inside of. You want to be successful, you got to go and create your spot, own it, to where they don't have an option but to pay you, but to continue with you because
sure.
you're too valuable.
Yeah. And so at that point, I worked for him. I started to learn this business where I was like, I told the owner, I said, I am going to do this to buy this company. And so I went to school. I got my tech license to be an AC guy because I was selling it, but I wasn't understanding what I was selling.
Yeah. So you wanted to have the technical
Yes.
understanding of what you were doing.
And then I started to learn a little bit just so I knew a little bit to know what I was selling. Or I didn't want to sell somebody a brand new AC unit when the capacitor was bad. Like, so it was just stuff like that.
Bring a little honesty into the game.
Yeah. And so then we started getting into commercial pretty hardcore. And we got up to, I was the only sales guy, and we got up to $5 million. And just to kind of make it short and sweet, I would say that he had a tough winter. This is when I started the CH Lonestar with Haley. And in the winter, I would do tumbler cup, stuff like that, just to have extra money. And believe me, I made a lot of money in the AC business.
That's kind of when I met you. You were real in the thick of working with him, and you'd taken a lot of ownership. And I know there was some struggle in there about you getting paid all the time because the amount of work you were doing and the amount of commissions you were making. It kind of shocked him as to how much he was going to have to pay you.
Yeah,
right.
I think it. So what happened was when we were doing, and this is as a business owner, I get it now. I would say it was tricky because I was starting to treat that company like it was my own. So when I was marketing and I was calling customers and stuff, a good chunk of them would call directly to the office. Well, for me, and I would catch them and be like, hey, that was my customer. Well, you need to make sure they're calling you. And I deal with this now as a business owner and having sales reps.
Yeah.
I've actually talked to Sam about it. Like, how do you do this? Like, how do you handle three sales reps are in the same territory?
Yeah.
You know, how do you handle that? You really can. It's like, hey, whoever closes it first, it's theirs. And that's how Sam, he was like, hey, there's no territories. Who closes it? It's that sales rep. And as sales reps are like, man, that's kind of like a dog. Like, you're not really taking care of your sales team. And it's like, no, you know,
You're actually taking care of your producers that way.
yeah.
And your producers are who you have to keep.
Because if you were the one that was making it, you wouldn't be griping.
Well, you know who gripes about it's the lazy people.
Yeah. And so I have to be careful because I have my whole team. I have a hardworking team, but
I'm talking about my lazy people.
oh, okay. So, but I have a really good team, but it is for me being a smaller company and learning what I've learned, and I'm still learning, I'm always trying to satisfy. So, because if I'm not satisfying them, I'm not making a living. I will make a living, but I do, as a team, we make a better living as a team. And so I would say that whole thing with having territories and stuff, it's tricky for sales reps. So with that being said, he kind of hit a spot, and then we were doing tumbler cups, stuff like that. And one winter, he said, "Hey man, I'm gonna have to put you commission based only." To give you an idea,
I remember that. You called me freaking out that day. I remember that day very well.
Yeah, and I was making 100, 150, 175 grand a year. Had F-350s, wakeboarding boats.
Oh, I remember.
I had the lifestyle. I had the perfect lifestyle, but I worked for it. I feel like I worked for it, you know.
Well, you know,
so
you've always been such an entrepreneur because I remember when you had that wake boat and you were still working for the AC company.
Oh yeah, seen that like Roberts.
You know, we see each other at Party Cove
wouldn't
and
talk
Ray
to each
Roberts.
other. We just knew each
we knew each other. We weren't
Yeah.
quite friends yet,
Yeah.
but I do remember when we did start talking and we started becoming friends. You were with the AC company. You were doing your CH Lonestar promo, getting it up off the ground and running, and you were even, excuse me, renting your boat out. And when you'd rent the boat out, because it was such a nice freaking boat, I remember that boat. You didn't want to let just anybody drive it. So not only did you rent it out, hell, you went and been the captain on it too.
I started a company where I would rent the boat. So I'll be straight up. The payments on it was $1,200 a month. Not a lot of people can afford $1,200 a month on a boat. And I mean, hell, I couldn't. So I was like, you know what? I got to figure out a way. I wanted this boat bad. There was people that had nicer boats than me.
But you needed to show your wings, man.
Yeah, and this is what I could afford, so I bought it.
I'm gonna
Josh.
I'm going to pause for 1 second just because it's going to make the rest of this a lot better if we space out a tiny bit.
Okay. Oh, are we picking up each other?
Yeah, it's all echoing.
Sorry, this is our first our echo experience. So here, let's. I'm actually talking towards his microphone.
Yeah.
But so I had the boat, and I actually started a deal on Facebook where I would literally hustle on these group pages, and I would post the boat for rent, half day, full day, and I would sit there and rent it out, and I was the driver. There was no way I was just going to leave my boat out there with letting someone else drive. And truthfully, 90% of the customers didn't even want to go wakeboarding or tubing. They just wanted to go to the Party Cove and just hang out.
All they needed is a water taxi.
Yep. And so we would go over there and just literally park it on the beach and then sit there half of the day. And then when we did half days, I would have all my friends there at noon, and then it paid for the trip for the rest of the day.
Yeah, you can't beat that and getting payment on the boat.
But even as the boat life, everyone wants to chip in $10 for fuel, and it's like, yeah.
Well, as a boat owner, I know the pains of, hey, let's go to lake, we'll chip in, and then nobody ever actually ponies up.
And no one wants to clean. No one wants to help on the end.
You know how I've rectified that?
Don't have a boat no
You
more.
always have your boat empty on a Friday afternoon, and you got to fill it up on the way to the lake. And you tell everybody it's with you.
They don't care.
Yeah, no, they really don't. And they'll drink your beer and eat your ice and all that stuff.
So that was the boat deal. And so when I went commission based, I put the boat up for sale. I sold the truck, and I actually went and bought a Jeep. Yeah, I went and bought a Jeep and got rid of my F-250.
Yeah, I remember.
And that put the hurting on me, because I mean I had a F-250 before that. Then I went to a F-350. Then I went back to another F-250, and then I went to the Jeep.
And you hated that Jeep
I hated
shortly
the
after
Jeep.
you bought it.
I hated
I
the
remember.
So then this is where life got real. In the middle of this, me and Haley just bought our house. We were literally in the middle of plans on building a shop. And when I went commission based, I knew I couldn't afford to build that shop. So this is kind of crazy, but I was so scared. And this is when Haley already started to build the promo company.
Yeah.
To give you a little bit of an idea, we ran it out of the garage. We started in our guest bedroom. We literally had a printer, an embroidery machine, and a laser machine, and she would literally all three and run it all day.
Well, let's talk about that for a quick second, because I know a lot of people think that CH Lonestar promo is Cody Hogan, but it's not, is it?
I did that on purpose.
It's Cody Haley.
It's Cody and Haley, yeah. But I did it just in case she leaves me. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I couldn't run it without her. So
I kind of believe you, because it would be C and H.
Yeah. No, I would be screwed without her, truthfully. So when that happened, this to show you how humble I feel like as a person. I wouldn't say humble. I don't want to put myself as saying I've humbled myself, but I would say this put me to where I realized how hard life could be on me.
Well, actually, humility is a huge part of being successful in life.
When you live the life of the boats and the trucks and making that kind of money, and then you realize you have nothing and you're going into the winter, I went and applied at the Walmart distribution center.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
And so I went and I'll be straight up, I worked there for 2 weeks. Got my first check, and I think it was like $500 for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I remember you called me and you go, "There's so many things I could have done to make $500 so much easier than this."
I could sell my body on the side of the road before I made $500 for 2 weeks, and my body would not have hurt as bad.
Yeah, I don't know.
And so
I guess that depends on who you're selling your body.
I don't care. That was rough, man. So it every day when I got out of that Walmart distribution center, it felt like a prison. And this is the thing. Before that, I wouldn't say I made fun of people, but I gave people a hard time for working at those kind of places. After doing it, I will fight someone to make fun of someone like that. It takes a certain kind of person to work at those places. And I think, there's two ways as a business owner and where I am today. Everyone's like, oh, well, Walmart is greedy. You know what? Like, they are, but they put their time in too to be where they are.
Yeah.
And the reason, like when I worked there, I'll be straight up, like they wouldn't buy rubber floor mats for every guy that's, running at the floor. I would literally crawl out of that building, pull my shoes off, and lay in my truck for 5 minutes because my feet hurt so bad. I went through ASIC tennis shoes. Like I tried every kind of shoe I could possibly find, and it killed my feet. Just standing on that concrete for 12 hours a day.
I've been in there. We've done some service work on that place. It's
freaking
all
horrible.
concrete.
No AC. It was hot as crap because I think I tried to fight through the winter on my own because I was doing some side hustle stuff where I have a buddy that owns a greenhouse operation, and so I was driving the Tyler and stuff every single night.
Growing roses?
Yeah. And so, but I actually would drive while I was it's kind of all intertwined, but I would literally help Haley run the business. And then at night, I would leave the garage from printing. And then I would literally go to Tyler and then get back at 4 o'clock in the morning from delivering. And then the next morning do the same thing. So then went from that and then went 2 weeks in the Walmart distribution center, got my first check. And I said, absolutely not. I will literally kill myself to make CH work.
So
then that's when
at that point, I know you went all in on CH.
I went all in, and it was scary.
And you started, and I know you still today work for anybody and do anybody's promo stuff. I mean, hell, you do mine, and I'm nobody. Mm-hmm. So, you'll do anybody's stuff, but you are very, very deep and very good at the musician business. Not only handling their merch, but helping them with merch sites and designs. And I mean, you do really, really professional, badass stuff for these musicians. How did you get that niche going? Where did that start?
Truthfully, me and Haley started it from doing title companies and just gifts for Christmas, stuff like that. And so then after that, we started doing a couple of musicians, and then that's when Jordan came in and started introducing us to musicians and stuff like that. And then I kind of realized, I was like, there's something in this side of it. But I was kind of freaked out because there's not a lot of promotional companies that are after musicians.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's a reason for that. Like, there's got to be a reason
highs and
for that.
lows.
Yeah. And everyone's going after schools and everything else. Let me tell you something. I am very thankful for all the musicians I take care of. I love them. I would never change it in the world, but they are some of the hardest people to make happy.
Oh, I bet.
They have the most detailed art. They want the perfect colors. They want the perfect shirts. And so that's...
But they love to pay for them, right?
Some of them do. But what messed me up is from day one, I gave all musicians 15% off regular cost.
Yeah.
Well, you have a love and hate with that because yours is a one-color design.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you think I'd rather give you 15% off than all these musicians that are 12 colors?
Oh, yeah, I bet.
And so it really put me in a weird position. But at the end of the day, I mean, we take care of 250, 300 musicians or more.
And you got some big names. I'm really impressed with the resume that you've built and the clientele that you've got, and you do really good at it too. I have witnessed and watched a musician call you, make an unrealistic order for a concert or a festival that was coming up, and you actually make it happen, put it together, and then personally drive every single bit of that merch to the venue and make sure that it gets unloaded on site and sold.
I drive it to Twin Falls, Idaho. I drive it to Key West. I drive it to Outlaw and Legends in Abilene.
And he's a cool guy. I've getting to know him has been fun. He seems like he's that's a good thing he's got going.
We just picked up We Fest in Minnesota, so now we got to start taking stuff there.
That's awesome.
And so LJT, we're starting to dabble on that one. And so, I mean, we've been growing with musicians, and that's where I kind of wanted to talk about, like, it's tricky because I'm kind of caught as a business owner. I'm caught where I love taking care of roofing companies. I love taking care of construction guys. I love taking care of everything. It's not just musicians.
But it's a hell of a niche.
But it is a niche, and I feel like that's where I'm starting to get stuck, where, like, a lot of the video content, a lot of the stuff that I go after are more on the musician side. And I feel like as a business owner, I don't want customers to think like I'm failing them because I'm not marketing those other companies.
Well, but the musicians are the ones that have got the need and are pressing you. Squeaky hinge gets the oil. They're the ones that are pressing you for that stuff. And I think personally, I mean, the more I watch you do those guys, it makes me want you to do that for me. I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. So, I mean, you're literally tending to the business at hand and growing in a niche, which is the best way to succeed in business. And then you can spread out from there, right?
For sure. And that's even like Possum King, PK General Store. That's an awesome venue. That's on the lake over there. That they're not musicians, and I've done some pretty cool video content for them on making their merch and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
But I do want to. I want to financially start doing the construction companies, roofing companies, and stuff like that, and marketing their stuff. So if you actually look at like and this is kind of the whole learning curve of like MailChimp and all that stuff as a business owner. Like we actually put out a newsletter every single month, and it talks about 3 musicians, 3 different companies, and 3 festivals that we do every single month. And so, like, I'm starting to do that side of it. I'm starting to post that side of it. But on the video content side, we have hit the musician side hard, or festival side. Where it's at, these are my 2, I would say, the 2 hardest parts of my business, right, or on the customer side of the hardest parts of my business right now is making sure that I make it fair and show that I'm doing social media or taking care of all those customers the same. And then now I'm running into where it's tricky, where I am starting to take care of some bigger people out there, but then I have other people that truthfully I don't look at them as the bigger people. And they're now I'll have people call me and say, "Well, I know I'm not as big as this guy," and I'm like, "Man,
Well,
it does not matter. I
well,
treat everyone
let's leave
the
the
same."
we'll leave the names out of this.
Yeah.
But I do remember a very specific event, a very specific time.
You're getting on my nerves, Kate.
Well, you want to be able to be heard. Where a certain artist had called, made a large order, and then he tried to pull the, "Do you know who I am and how much I just spent?"
For sure.
And he wanted you to literally just forsake all your other customers that have been with you longer. They may not be as big, but what'd you tell him?
That was the first, yeah. That was a festival that we took care of, and it was a it was my biggest check, truthfully, till this day. And I was in Vegas with some friends. I told him before he even sent me the check, said, "Hey, man, I'm going to Vegas with some friends. We're going to be there for 3 days for a conference. When I get back, I have a couple customers in front of you, and then your stuff is getting done." As soon as the check hit our mailbox, he called me and said, "Hey, is my stuff into production?" I said, "Hey, man, I told you I was in Vegas. I told you I still have a couple customers, and then we're getting into your
And you
stuff."
told him what his production finish date was going to be.
100% I did.
And none of it never changed in the midst of all this.
No.
He just panicked,
I think he
or he just wanted to feel special.
I think that I care about every musician that I take care of and all the other ones all the same. I'm going to treat them all the same. I don't care if you're a Willie Nelson or Garth Brooks. I'm being honest with you. I will treat you all the same.
And I've seen you do it, so I
Yes.
believe it. And that's
And
what you told him, right?
Yeah. I told him, I said, "I don't care if you're $1 million customer or $1 customer, you're on a list, and I treat everybody the same." He hung up on me, and I was like, "This sucks. I'm going to lose this check." He's calling to cancel it. And about 5 minutes later, he called me and said, "Hey, man, I just want to apologize. My wife kind of chewed me out, and I shouldn't have talked to you that way. And I respect you for standing up for me, and now we're good friends."
That's all. And y'all are
And
good
so-
friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are.
He's
We're
cool,
good
and he's a
friends.
cool guy.
But that was a scary one.
Yeah.
That was a very scary moment in my life. Me and Haley was pretty down about that when that happened. And yeah, we're really good friends now on that.
Yeah, and I'm glad too. And that's one of those things in business. This is the hard conversations and hard things to do. But
for sure.
But you've built a really cool business. I'm every day surprised at how well you handle it, how many people you talk to that have some notoriety. And you know what? You've got your own notoriety because, a lot of people look at them, oh, this big artist, but man, they look at you and they kind of think the same thing. They're like, look at this guy you're building their merch sites, you're printing all their stuff. I mean, you've turned into a big deal on the flip side of that coin.
It's scary. We're starting to pick up people, and that's the growing pain where I want to take care of the people that got me where I am today. And that was kind of like the mowing company when we started getting into Lowe's and all that. Everybody said, "Why don't you quit the residential side and just do commercial?" And I was like, "Man, I wouldn't be where I am today without the commercial side or the residential side." That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I've just showed
That's really cool.
Cody, the screen where Caden's scrolling through your website, that's pretty
Yeah.
awesome computer work there, son.
Yeah,
Good
that's
job.
cool. And so it's the same thing as like with the customer side on this thing is like I just want to treat everyone the same, and I don't care if you're bigger, if you're smaller, or I feel, till this day of when me and Haley have started, I could probably put, and I don't want to jinx it, I could probably put 5 people that I would say that has either gotten mad at us or don't want to do business with us anymore. And that has ate me alive.
Well, I
and
know one
even
of
to
them, and that
this
was
day,
a stupid reason.
But even to this day, I will always try to make things right. Like even when I'm in the wrong.
You run a good business.
Yeah, and
I've
so
seen you do things for people that
literally-
I'm like, Cody, don't, dude. You
Yeah.
shouldn't do that. You were in the right. They need to.
I mean, I got a guy today that just said, "Hey, man, you talked a bigger game than what you did." And I told him, I said, "Hey, man, if I did that and I did you wrong, you need to call me." And he hasn't called me, but I said, "I'm not going to give up on you." I said, and I mean, don't. And this is the tricky thing. I have a lot of customers. I'm not trying to be cocky. I have a lot of people that we have 25 employees, and I'm literally have told this guy, "Hey, I'm going to be consistent. I'm not going to give up on you. I want to know what I did wrong and how I can fix it." And so I've literally blown his phone up, and I will every single day until he freaking answers me or until he gets mad at me.
Yeah.
Just because it's like, you know what? I want to know what I did so I can make it better in the future.
Yeah.
So, but I do want to at least let the customers know, like I promise, if you feel like I'm not treating you the same as other people, send us a message and like I will make it right.
What's the biggest struggle you're running into right now? I know the other day you were talking about production times, and you've for a long time, the whole time I've known you and you've been doing this, you've been at 2 weeks. And
Yeah.
and it really surprises me because
I've been
seen
at 2
you-
weeks since day one that we started.
I've seen you like overstaff and like run all nighters trying to get stuff done in this 2 week period. And is production time your biggest struggle right now? Is it shipping, fulfillment, like, or just finding good employees? Like, what are the struggles?
I don't even know where it's.
Or they're all just.
I would
say
say I've always been stuck on 2 weeks. The only thing that I've had to go to 2.5 weeks to 3 weeks is my embroidery. The only reason why is because I cannot buy another embroidery machine because they're a year out and you can't find them anywhere.
Yeah.
That's the problem I'm in that side of
what
it.
amazes me is that you would rather go and spend another $50, $60, $100,000 on a damn machine,
$85,000.
$85,000
But I
on a
can't find
machine,
one.
than to go, we're 3 weeks out or
Yeah.
we're 4 weeks out.
Yeah. And customers won't look at it that way.
I'll tell you what, it's
So-
incredible. I think it's incredible.
But so that's that side of it. And I mean, I would say the hardest things right now, it's tricky.
Well, let me ask you this, because this is a fun question, because I see you do a lot of really cool shit. What is your favorite thing about your clientele right now? Because
Man,
there's-
I get
I'll
to
talk
work
to
with
you
my
here
wife
and-
every day.
oh, that is the sweetest thing you could have said.
I'm just kidding.
Because I see you in Key West. You were down there last January for a freaking month for music festival after music festival. And of course you were working your ass off.
We work it.
And then you went to I think it was Utah you went to right after that.
We went to Moab. Yeah, we went to Moab, Utah for a couple of days, and then we went to Twin Falls, Idaho for Highway 30.
Highway 30, that's what I was
Yeah.
trying to think of. Yeah,
and
that's
in between that, me and you went to Outlaw and Legends and hung
Yeah.
out with them and went to Albany Live and seen Paul or
that
Shane
Albany
Smith.
live. Holy
Yeah.
Shane Smith tore that
Cawthon's
place to
playing-
pieces. That was an incredible show.
Paul Cawthon's playing when we're in Key West. I'm depressed about that.
Paul Cawthon would be fun to
So
go see.
I'll find out what date that is to see if you can make it if it's not mile zero.
Yeah.
So, but
That'd
yeah,
be cool.
so that's that side of it. I would say. I would say the hardest parts is trying to make customers happy, make sure I get to them on time. Every business owner problem, and making sure employees are happy. Truthfully, inventory has been tough. We carry between 10 to 15,000. To give you an idea, me and Haley had a stack of money saved up, personal money, and when COVID hit, you couldn't get anything. That was everywhere. Couldn't get roofing supplies. You couldn't get nothing.
Yeah, I couldn't get anything.
I spent our whole savings buying hats, and that was our blessing.
Was that your saving
Saved
grace
our
at the end of it?
ass.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We were the only ones in the country, I felt like, that had hats in stock.
Well,
Swear to
it's funny
God.
because I kept getting new hats during COVID.
No one else could get them. People were trying to buy them wholesale from me, and I couldn't do it. I was just like, not going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm the one that fronted my money. Like I'm not going to give them to you at my cost. Like it's, you know, I'm the one that took the risk on it. So,
Yeah.
but till this day, I always make a goal where we hold 10 to 15,000 hats in inventory. And so it's worked out for us. But
Dude,
now
that's crazy. I was at your shop the other day, and you literally had box after box stacked up on your front porch, all inside your storage area of your shop. You had a big
container, I had to buy a container.
how many freaking shirts were in all those boxes? I feel like I had to been like 20,000 shirts or something.
That's when we were taking care of a horse show.
God, there was so much
can't
stuff. I
think of
couldn't
what you-
believe that.
Can't think of
And,
those.
and to unload each one of those boxes, all the different sizes, then you do whatever
Print 'em.
printing or whatever you're doing on
Then
them.
quality
Then
control,
Then you got to check them, then fold them, and then repack
count them,
them.
and then repack them. Yeah, it's a lot of work.
I just
for
can't
a little
even.
bit, couple dollars for a T-shirt.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. It
And
doesn't.
yeah.
It's
I
you're
think
definitely got to be the McDonald's in that area. Where you're
We've
being served.
done stuff for Yellowstone. We've done stuff for big horse show events, festivals. Some of it's contracted where we can't promote it.
Caden threw this Akron Beacon Journal ad up about people struggling to find shirts through COVID.
That's
he's
funny.
practicing his new search and info throw.
Dude, this thing is pretty legit.
Yeah, I
'Cause
like
it.
it.
Shows me
it's been
what
good.
people are commenting. Shows me how many people are on. We've had people on here the whole time.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So, but no, we've been blessed. I would say we went from me and Haley to now 25 employees. We're in the middle of building a second building. We can print 2,500 shirts an hour and embroider up to 1,000 items a day. We have a fulfillment center now where we handle about 200 websites, where literally we will build your we build your webs. So to give you a little bit of idea, we can, as an apparel company or any kind of company, for employees or anything, we will print on demand, embroider on demand. So like we build you a website. Instead of you having to think, gosh, I got to order 100 shirts. Now we do it on demand, ship it straight to your employee or your customer, and they get it, and then you get your profits at the end of the month if you want profits. So it's the one stop. It's pretty much Amazon on a merch site. And then now we just added car wrapping, banners. We've always done that stuff, but we subbed it out. But now we just bought the equipment where now we're doing that all in-house. And then we're building a second building. Should be starting groundwork in the next couple of weeks. I've been saying that, but it's been in the works. But
A lot of good things in the
yeah, I'm
works.
starting to think of things that I've like missed out. I'm like, damn, I should have talked about that. We'll talk about it later.
Yeah, well, we've got
So-
podcasts.
Oh
2
yeah,
or 3
oh yeah.
coming up.
But I do want to bring up, like, I have a love and hate with my bank right now. But I will say, the day that I lost my job, I went to them and I told them, I said, I know you guys know I don't have that job anymore, and they are the ones that let me borrow the money to build my building and made it work. And so without them, I would not be where I am today. But
Well, without you, they wouldn't either.
that's true.
because
and they need
I've-
to remember that, because I think they have forgot that a little bit.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I've seen the way you handle your finances and stuff. I've always been impressed with. There's not a lot of people that are as meticulous in thinking about money as you are. But dude, it's a really cool story.
Oh yeah,
And-
let's
and-
talk about some other stuff.
And it's fun to see where you've gone, and I'm excited about where this is going to go in the next few years, because the musicians have been good, but you've got a good friend in Jake with On Tour Outdoors.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. So Jake is a good friend of mine. I'm actually going with him this weekend.
Y'all taking Mike Ryan hunting, right?
We're taking Mike Ryan hunting, and the hunter, the guy that owns the ranch, he's a pretty cool guy. We took Hannah Barron and then the Black Ops coffee company and stuff. We took some of their customers. And
Black Rifle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we took a couple different companies out there, and that was really cool. That was the first time I got to go out there. We took the bus. That's another thing, is me and Josh we have some pretty exciting stuff and we're about to get into that, of the ranch that he has, that we're going to be offering musicians.
We're excited about that. That'll be
We're
fun.
going to take some musicians out there. We're going to be building an outfitters out there and a apparel brand, but we're going to be using some having other brands out there too. And it mostly say it as a team of different teams is building together.
Well, we all
podcast
play good off of each other.
Yeah.
And so you went up to my ranch for the first time this last weekend.
Yeah.
and I've told you about it and I've showed you pictures, but I guess you didn't ever listen.
No, I didn't take it serious.
Yeah. And what'd you find when you got there?
It was pretty unbelievable. Me and Haley and I, we needed a break. And Josh has been telling me to go there for like a year, I think.
Yeah. Well, actually 2.
I feel really
It's
terrible.
been
Has it
2
really
years.
been 2 years?
Been 2 years that I've been telling you, hey, dude, you need to come up here and check the place out. Y'all hang out, go hunting. Let's have some fun. And yeah.
I feel really bad because you already put all the hard work in, so now it's nice for me. Well,
there's
Hayden
some
wanted to play
music.
some music. So, but no, I love the place. It's 1,600 acres.
Yep.
Has 3 cabins on it.
Yep.
And all 3 cabins have a different look, like a completely
Totally
different
different
look.
We got the
have your
grandma's
high-end-
cabin,
yep.
the easy to get a car to. We got the middle cabin, stone on it. That's you got to have 4-wheel drive to get there, and then you got your Outback for the not faint of heart.
Yeah, and this is another thing, guys. We'll put a link on here in the future, but we do rent those cabins out too. So that's
I didn't know you rented those out because I do too.
Josh rents these cabins out at this ranch, and it's
My
very
ranch.
reasonable. It's awesome.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and so I think it would be a cool opportunity if you're just trying to get away with your wife, believe me, it worked out. My wife didn't even want to come home. So, but no, I mean, there's some cool opportunities out there.
My wife will tell you I don't like to come home from there either.
Yeah. I call him and I'm like, on Monday, where you at? Oh, I'm about to leave the ranch. So, but no, it's a cool opportunity. They rent them. They do rent the cabins out and stuff like that. Bunch of animals. I mean, we're sitting there
we
laying
butt
in
up
bed
to about 30,000 acres of government refuge land. So we've got some spectacular deer. We got turkey, got some black bears. The other night we heard a baby crying in the middle of the night. Realized no, that's a mountain lion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Hudson just killed a deer the other day, correct?
Yeah, he did.
Hudson, get in here. Tell us about your little story.
Here, Hudson, come in here. Let's get you.
So this is one of Josh's sons, and we're gonna listen to the story of when he killed his buck the other day.
All right. So this is Hudson. Hudson, how old are you?
I'm 11 years old, and
Where you go to school, Hudson?
I go to
Tioga, huh? Yeah. You had a big dance out there this weekend, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Did
Yeah.
you have fun? Who'd you go with?
Chloe.
Chloe Lange. Yeah. Her dad's a duck hunter.
Is she?
No, her dad is. Me and him talk duck hunting all the time. Yeah, absolutely. So you just shot a deer last week, and tell me the story about that.
So, me and my dad, we went out a lot, and we went to go hunt for the weekend, and we went out probably every day and saw only, we saw these 3 doe constantly that would come in, and we would see.
So the pressure system, and the temperature got hot, and the deer just didn't move very good. They were not cooperating, to say the least. No. We had a very, very, really badass, big, solid 8-point, a big 10-point that we were hunting, and they just wouldn't cooperate, did they?
No.
Hunting the same stand the whole time?
Yeah, same stand.
I kept saying, Hudson, you want to try hunting the creek stand? You want to go up to the wood pile? Yeah. Maybe we could go to Lost Mountain. And he's like, nope, I got a good feeling about this field. And he wanted to stay in that green field.
And so probably, what's the last day of rifle season in Oklahoma?
It was the last day of rifle season. And we don't do a lot of rifle hunting. But Hudson being 11, he's a really good shot with his bow, but he's not quite pulling enough weight to be deadly to a deer. So we don't ever want to injure an animal. So we were rifle hunting, and we do have a crossbow, but it was down. We needed a new string on it. So he was taking advantage of rifle season.
So it was like bright enough that you could see like the silhouette of the deers, but not bright enough that like you could actually see the deer.
It was foggy.
It was foggy.
It definitely for all everybody out there that's wondering, it was shooting light. And we were legally hunting in shooting light.
Yeah. So I will explain his place. I will say, when you wake up in the morning, you don't see nothing.
It's
It
foggy.
is foggy.
This time of year
Yes.
is warm and
Yeah.
the
The
fog
sun is
gets
up, but it
thick,
is foggy.
but it is gorgeous
It
when it's
is.
foggy.
It is. And then when the fog starts to go away is when things start to move.
I like the fogginess though. It's pretty up there.
Well, it makes deer want to move too because they're comfortable,
Oh yeah.
and so I mean, I feel like, so go ahead.
So we had this big group of deer come in, and it was just bright enough that we could see their rack, and there was one that we were hunting called Kickerton, and
You keep saying it was just bright enough to see the rack. Hell,
No.
it was just foggy enough. It was hard to tell which one he was. It was plenty light. I don't want anybody out there to think that we were not hunting in normal.
We'll put a
hunting
video
hours.
I was in Stephenville at this point, and I could barely navigate to my classes. It was
Okay,
so
you're
fun.
not supposed to say that. Okay, guys,
All
I
right,
promise. There's a
back,
video.
back to you hunting.
they ran off into the woods.
Yep.
My dad told me, well, he recommended that I go out and like test the feeder again to like maybe bring him back in. And so I ran out and hit test on the feeder to make it go off again. And right when I sat back down in the stand, the deer came back out.
So for
And-
all the hunters out there, we have a group of does that come into this feeder all the time. The bucks don't necessarily like the feeders, and especially the big deer. Our biggest deer on the ranch really don't ever come into feeders. If you want to hunt the big deer on the ranch, you're going to get a tree stand out in the woods,
I was going to
crossing
say,
the trails.
I feel like especially at your place, they don't need corn.
No, they don't. They
Like,
don't.
and I know everybody's like, "Oh, it's Oklahoma."
Yeah,
No, this
so-
is not the normal Oklahoma.
So we had our good hard push of the rut in early November, typical rut time for Oklahoma, and it was a good rut. It hit heavy. There was a lot of deer movement, but as most hunters know, I don't know if all hunters because there's a lot of idiots out there, but any doe that didn't get bred in the first round, they're going to come back into cycle about a month later, and so. A lot of people call it the trickle rut, but what it is it's literally the second phase of the rut when those does come back into heat again. In the bucks, it's like a kind of a revitalized second rut. And so here we are pressing right up against it. And these does took off and the bucks took off with them because they're starting to come back in the estrus again. And so I told Hudson, I said, hey, let's bring those does back in. They're very food oriented. They're the only ones that come into the feeder. I said, go set that feeder off. See if those does come back in and be able to drag the buck back in. And that's exactly what happened, isn't it, buddy?
Mm-hmm. So we sat there for a second and watched him. And finally he like jumped the fence and we got a good position on him. And he was in my sights. We turned safety off and I shot him. And he...
Yeah,
went-
why didn't you push a button?
Yeah, we should have
don't
a
have a
gunshot
gun?
set up.
I can add that in.
So, Hudson, what's a deer do when you shoot him in the heart?
They kind of like donkey kick.
Yeah, that's right. And then if they don't drop in their tracks, what do they usually run towards? Where'd you find that deer?
We found him laying in the creek.
In the
About, what,
middle of
30,
the creek.
40 yards away.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was floating.
So let me ask you
Yeah.
this: the picture. How did you get that deer out of the creek? Did you have to go into the water?
Well, yeah, we ain't scared of water.
No. But that looked deep.
I know that I'm sweet
That
and made of
looked
sugar,
deep.
but I ain't gonna melt.
It looked pretty deep. That looked like a really deep spot of the creek.
Well, my little hunter here had rubber boots on, so he's
it
the
looked
one that.
deeper than the boots.
Well, it was. He got as deep as he needed to and grabbed a leg. And pulled up. We kept towing out. From there. Yeah.
My first deer I ever killed. It was snowing. My grandpa threw me in a blind, and this is my.
Oh God, do we need to stop the live feed?
No,
You
this
gonna tell the
is
story?
no. This is my story of like the love and hate of my stepdad and my family and me. But my grandpa, we hunted on my stepdad's place in Tennessee, and he was against me hunting by myself. So my grandpa was like, "Screw that! Here's your gun. I'm leaving you. I'm going to the next blind." And so I shot my first deer that way, and I found him in a creek the same way.
Oh, did you really?
Literally,
Yeah.
yeah. That's why I was like, "Did he run to that creek?" Because I knew that picture.
Well, it's like we were up in Illinois. Me and Alexis, my wife, were in Illinois hunting 2-3 weeks ago, and I shot a donkey of a damn buck.
That was a good looking buck.
Yeah, man, 185 inch, 300 pounds. I mean, this thing was just corn fed, heavy, big. And the dadgum dude at the archery shop, and I'm going to call him out on this a little bit, they suck sometimes. I put a bow together for my wife. And then the very next time I went in, they're like, I don't know why you put a blue string on that bow. It's the one color deer can see. I'm like, well,
You're the ones that
Willie that works up here is the one that set this bow up and said, oh, this,
Yeah.
I'm
I
like,
got a blue string in mine.
Yeah, exactly. It's the one color deer can see, Caden.
Good.
So they talked me into buying these broadheads, and they're cupped in a certain way. Like, oh yeah, it introduces air into their system, and they're sure to die.
Kills them faster.
Kills them faster. I'm like, great. Well, you know what? You know what deer in Illinois where it gets negative 45 degrees? You know what covers their whole body? 3 inches of fat. And if you got a broadhead that's got a 1 inch cut on it,
Yeah.
that fat seals up. That deer didn't drop a bit of blood.
No.
There was no blood where I shot it. There was no blood where it ran off. And when we finally found that deer using some damn dogs, $800 later, there wasn't any blood where it was laying. That dadgum broadhead almost cost me the biggest buck
I know
I've
this
ever
might
shot.
be a dumb question because I don't bow hunt. But why don't you just have trackers on the arrows? Because usually they'll go all the way through.
Yeah, that arrow went all the way through the deer.
Okay.
The arrow, I found the arrow laying on the ground.
Because sometimes they don't, though,
No,
correct?
sometimes they don't. If you hit a bone, like, depending on how you shoot them, but good
I just think
archers
in
are
my
gonna
mind,
shoot
why
'em
don't
through
you
the
put a
heart. They're going to
tracker
run
on
about 80 yards and die.
Okay.
But
I'm
that's
surprised that broadhead made it through. It looks more like a parachute than anything.
That would be a
It does kinda
brilliant-
look like a
that would
parachute,
be
doesn't
a
it?
brilliant
Yeah.
deal to build a cheap tracker that would lead, like when the arrow goes all the way through, but leaves the tracker. I know that might be dumb. That's
I think it'd
brilliant.
be hard to keep it light enough.
Well, here's the thing about bow hunters. Now, and Caden, you date a horse girl. Olivia is a horse girl. And
She's
this
a
is the
wannabe
same.
horse girl. I'm just kidding.
Oh,
I'm
she's a horse
kidding.
girl. And
She's just crazy enough.
we've all seen the memes. We've all seen all the warnings from old horsemen that have horsewomen. It's like, hey, the horse girls are crazy. They will fall in love with these horses. They spend too much money. And then when you get down into the crazy people about things, horse girls kind of go down the list, and you got a few things that come popping up. But at the
Like
very top
trackers
of the
on you.
list is bow hunters. Bow
Really?
hunters, they get so obsessed. And my wife will tell
I
you, I
believe
made
that.
her,
I
she
believe that.
she went to Illinois with me. She did her first full day sit from dawn till dark. It takes a lot of love for the game to be a bow hunter. And one of the reasons that we like to bow hunt is because of the challenge.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And
so
you
why
know
have
what?
a tracker? Because the hunting is the fun part.
It's the challenge.
Yeah,
It's
that makes
the struggle of the hunt. It's the having to draw back and be able to not
Yeah.
get noticed when you're 20, 30 yards from a wild animal. Everything about it is harder.
Yeah.
And, the recovery, it just feels like cheating. You want to keep it as legit
Especially
as
with your
possible.
fancy new sights.
For sure.
Oh, you're going to start busting me on my garments.
No,
later, aren't
Yeah.
you?
How big was that deer?
It was a 10 point.
Yeah.
What do you think it scored, Dad? Like 115, something like that.
I love your honesty, son.
No, I mean,
That deer should have never been shot.
yeah.
Yeah, that was the critical part of the fog.
So
There was some pretty big deer around that, like around them too.
So the magic of fog and mirrors. We thought we were looking at a much larger deer that we know very well that we have on camera, much closer,
Oh,
And it-
okay.
or much farther away, and it turned out to be it was probably its kid.
Still a good
like,
looking deer though.
Beautiful animal, and I mean beautiful symmetrical rack. But that's a gene that you want to keep breeding.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, and
After
so
thinking about that, yeah, that
yeah,
is what
you want him to keep breeding. He at 5 and a half,
was
6.5 years old, he would have been. I bet you that deer would have been a
been
180-inch deer
Yeah, he would have been
at 5
sick.
years old.
Yeah.
And he was a nice deer, but he was young. We honestly, both of us looked at it. It's not the same 10 point that left and went into the woods.
Okay.
It
Yeah.
was just another 10 point that came back with those does and was standing off in the fog. And through the scope, through the binoculars, it looked like a big deer. proportion wise, everything, and it had it had the same genetics. Obviously, it was offspring of the big one that we were thinking, but it happened so quick. It was like all of a sudden they were back out. They had disappeared so fast. Time was of the essence. It's like, oh, that's that big 10 point. Take him.
Yeah.
And then it's the ground.
Is that your
shrinkage.
biggest one? Or
Oh
no?
God, no. That's his smallest
No?
deer he's ever shot.
What's the biggest one you've killed?
20 point.
20
yeah.
point.
Son of a gun.
186 inches.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, in Kansas.
Good God.
yeah.
I haven't even killed anything that big. I probably won't ever kill anything that big in my life.
You can hang out with me long enough, you will.
Yeah. There's some pretty big ones that you have mounted up around
There's one or two.
here. Yeah.
I like these Mexico mule deer behind us.
I would. Yeah.
That's a good story for another podcast.
cool.
Yeah, that's
Oh my God. Yeah.
the Sonoran cartels. Yeah, that was a fun hunt. Me
I
and my
don't
cousin
really,
Lance.
really want to tell the honesty of, for me, like everybody's like, oh, do you love hunting? Honestly, I like seeing other people hunt.
Yeah.
And the video side of it.
Well, dude,
You wanna know
so
the
good
truth
at the
of
art
my-
of
You want to
video.
know the whole. You see what kind of lifestyle I have.
Yeah.
Do you want to know how many deer I've killed in my life?
One.
One doe and one buck.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's that buck that I killed over in Denton. That I had the 600 acres.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
yeah.
that was my first buck.
No kidding. What'd
Yeah.
he score?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, 8 point, 10
So,
point,
8 point.
8 point.
So, but that was a cool one. And then the doe was with my grandpa.
Oh,
Yeah,
those are good
so-
memories.
But yeah, it's just like I've been around it my whole life. My parents have that all that land, but I've never had the chance to hunt it.
Well,
So
we're gonna have a chance to hunt a lot. We're gonna have a chance
yeah.
to talk about hunting, and we're gonna talk
excited.
about business and wives and kids and all the whole 9 yards.
for
But
sure.
you know what? This has been fun. It's been our first podcast ever. It's been our first live doing this ever, and I think it went pretty smooth. And someday we're gonna have a name for this deal.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah. So if anybody's got any bright ideas about a podcast talking
Or if
about
anybody
hunting
needs to be a
and
part of it, like
business,
messages.
yeah, if hey, you got something to say and you want to be a part of it, shoot me or Cody a message
Yep.
for sure.
So
So, but
Yeah.
hey, for everybody that hopped on and watched, thank you
appreciate
guys.
it.
We appreciate it. Appreciate the support, and hopefully we'll get to do this again soon. Caden, you got anything to add to it?
Yeah, before we shut down, I just got a cool message right here. It's kind of a cool testament to who Cody is. A guy named Aaron messaged me while we were going and said, glad you guys have Cody on. He won't tell you this, but a few weeks ago, I asked him to help us with a T-shirt fundraiser for a guy in our town who's battling cancer. Without hesitation, he said they would do anything they could to help. We're 7 hours away, and he has no clue who the guy is, but had agreed to help, no questions asked. He's the
did.
definition of a stand-up guy.
I'll tell you what, man, Cody. If there's a lot of men that live their whole lives and don't ever have anybody say stuff like that, you're doing good, man. Keep doing it. I'm proud of
cool.
you. I love you. That's awesome.
appreciate it, Aaron.
All right,
man.
and Caden, good job on running the show tonight, man.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, Hudson, thanks for the story. And
Okay.
Cody,
Welcome.
you'll probably be on this every time, but it was sure fun to do it the first time with you.
Oh yeah, I appreciate it. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what we have.
I'm excited to see where this goes
So,
to.
we'll keep you guys posted.
All right.
Yep.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
That was good.
Are we off?
We had
Yeah.